David Seymour's come out saying to the Prime Minister that she should not have gone to the Chathams, that she should have stayed in her electorate because her electorate is where this horrific murder happened. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is defending her decision not to travel to her local electorate to be with the grieving families of the Sandringham community after a man managing a dairy was fatally stabbed. Ardern, speaking to media from Chatham Islands, where she was visiting for the first time, said she had directly contacted some community leaders concerning the man's death, but said she was wary of disturbing a grieving family. Also, I was thinking, too, this is one of those moments, if she had have wandered in to this thing, what would the right-wing pundits have said?
Oh, absolutely. She's politicizing. Politicizing.
Oh, this is disgusting. Mind your business. She's using the grieving family to get a photo of. That's what they would have said. But now that she's not there, it's not okay as well. Anyway, the Prime Minister goes on, it is my local community, so I will be looking to be present there as soon as I am able to, but I'm also very aware there is a family grieving and there is an active police investigation into a homicide, and I do need to delicately balance being in the right place at the right time. Ardern rejected any suggestions her not being in Sandringham represented a government not doing enough to address crime. Apparently she should be running down the road trying to catch these people herself. Noting that there was a time and a place when a man's family might want to engage politicians. We will continually have to do as much as we can to support our police, which we have. They are the best resource that they have ever been. Best resources. They are the best resources. So David Seymour came out saying this. ACT Party David Seymour said Ardern not choosing to be in her Mount Albert electorate where the incident took place showed, quote, a complete lack of judgment, a complete lack of judgment. Instead of dropping everything, should drop everything to be in her electorate today and making the response to retail crime a priority. She is on a plane to the Chathams, a trip she could have easily postponed. Now, you know, I kind of think that there is some validity in what Mr. Seymour is saying on some level, right? I think it's fair to ask, where should the local MP be in this kind of situation? I think it's fair to ask that question. The next question to ask is, where is any local electorate MP when a murder happens in their electorate? For example, pick one randomly. Just hang on, let me just go, boop, and I'll say, well, like for example, in 2021, in Epsom, who's the MP for Epsom?
Oh,
is it did Goldsmith win at the last one? Was it Paul Goldsmith? Did he win?
Former go-karting champion David Seymour.
Epsom homicide, 29-year-old man charged with double murder over couple's death. This murder was committed the 19th of March, 2021. So I think it's fair to ask the question, what is the local MP doing when these events happen? And do we expect our local MPs to be in their electorate when these things happen? Or if they're not, is it a complete lack of judgment? Now, I'm not going to now play kind of flippant with the murders, but I think most people would think all murders are terrible. It's a terrible thing, but a double murder seems to be worse than a murder, like just on the scale of an actual crime, not of how it impacts people or anything. So where was David Seymour on the 19th, for the week after that murder happened in his electorate? The double murder happened.
Was he right there?
Well, he have to have been, because if he wasn't right there, it would have been a complete lack of judgment, and it would have been kind of hypocritical for what he came out with and said today, and it would have been almost like he's trying to push a narrative based on hypocrisy. I mean, I'm sure that's not the case, Chewy. So I went through Mr. Seymour's Facebook feed today.
Oh dear.
So you don't have to. Now this is actually a video. What I did, because I was a bit concerned that it would crash again. So I actually went to it. Then I used OBS and I recorded the screen as I was looking through it. So this is the 18th of March, 2021. This is the day before the murders, and David Seymour, as you can see, is at the Central District's Fields Day. Now this is going to kind of scroll on my behalf because I was scrolling it in video, so it'll start in a second. So let's have a look at how much time he spent in his electorate. Obviously, because if he didn't, it would be a complete lack of judgment. So here's the day of the murder. where he comes out and he talks about a cocky Labour minister. That's on the 19th of March. The next day, or this might still, but this is the 20th of March. He's talking about climate change and how terrible Labour is. And then he takes photos. He's in his electorate. 21st of March, he's in his electorate, but he's taking photos with people. Then on the 22nd of March, he's talking about hosting street corners conversations. And then on the 22nd of March, he's talking about supporting a trans Tasman bubble. On the 23rd of March, I'm going to pause that because it's a bit of a longish one. Oh, I can't pause it. It's gone anyway. On the 23rd of March, he's talking about how terrible Labour are. And then he's in Wellington. So he's not in his electorate. So by the 23rd of March, he's in Wellington. Okay. And then on the 24th of March, this is him still in Wellington, abolish the bright line test, talking about that. And then on the 25th of March, he's putting up like he's in his workout gear, putting stuff up. And then he's still in Wellington on the 25th of March. He's in the House on the 25th of March. And then on the 26th of March, I think it is. So this is within that week. He's in the South Island at the South Island Agricultural Field Days, 25th of March, actually. So he went elsewhere. He left his electorate in the week of a double homicide, a double murder. He wasn't there. He didn't stick around. And I can only wonder if anyone else considers that a complete lack of judgment. The other thing I noticed, Chewy, and I'll get your take on this, is, and I tried to have a look on his Twitter feed as well, but it wouldn't go back that far for me. I don't know if Elon's protecting alt-right sympathizers at the moment. But no public acknowledgement anywhere of sympathy. Like, you think about that. That's his Facebook page, a double murder in his electorate. And I'm not saying that he didn't talk in the press, or I'm not saying that he didn't offer condolences personally, but no public acknowledgement of what had happened in his electorate whatsoever. Nothing, not a thing. And I just thought, Now, some might say, well, that's a good thing because you don't want to play grandstand and PR to it. Others might say, I think most of us who are normal people, whatever the relationship, for him it would be constituent, for us it would be something else, might publicly acknowledge a double murder that's happened in our electorate that we should have stayed in, because if we didn't and we left, it would be a complete lack of judgment. I found all that very interesting today, Chewy. There you go. I've been talking for 7 minutes.
It's almost like a double standard, which is very unusual out of Mr. Seymour. Look, I think when we're talking about the Prime Minister and this, is you're talking about the different hats that she would wear. And I'm sorry, I don't think her going, oh, well, I'm putting on my local electorate MP hat and I'm charging into this crime scene, for lack of a better word, and I'm just going to insert myself in there. That wouldn't have been the appropriate thing, because she's still the Prime Minister. It's not like she's a backbench MP. You know, it's very, very different. And I think the other thing, I saw a comment here from Jay, the immediateness of the right wing, the New Zealand Herald, everybody has politicized this thing immediately, straight out of the gates. It's been quotes from upset people. It's been quotes from people that are heavily involved in the National Party. We won't mention that they're higher ups in the National Party or contributing members to the National Party. We're going to mention that they're part of the Dairy Owners Association or the Indian community or that sort of thing. We won't mention that at all. There's no context given. We just take one of the hats that this person has and we just let them say whatever they want. And to see phrases like, the Prime Minister has blood on her hands because of this.
Did you say that was Mr. Peters? I didn't see that comment.
No, Mr. Peters didn't say that phrase, but I have seen there's an opinion piece from the Herald, I think today or yesterday, that was the government or Jacinda Ardern has blood on her hands. And they ran that as a headline for an opinion piece for someone who is a contributor to the National Party. There's no mention of that person being a contributor to the National Party. It was just framed as an opinion piece from a concerned member of the community. And it's That stuff that's important context. Who is this person and why are they taking this position? I want to know if it's an ex Labour staffer or a lobbyist who has a background in the party or that sort of thing. If they're going to have an opinion piece, that is important. It places context on what they are saying and why they are saying it. But the crassness of people charging into this tragedy and apportioning blame to people that were not there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if we had a full-on friggin' police state. You know, you would have to have cops on every dairy in the country to say that no dairy owner is going to get robbed or stabbed on this particular night. And look, that is impossible for any government to say that there won't be.
I think it's fair to ask some questions, but what I won't stand by and let go is the hypocrisy within that. So, and we know the game. We know the shell game. We know that if she had have turned up to the grieving family, there were people who criticized the Prime Minister for going to the funeral of the 51 murdered Muslims with a headscarf on as a photo op. You know, there's actually no winning here. But talking about how people were responding. Now, I haven't watched this because I don't watch Karen Plunkett, but the headline on Karen Plunkett's show was this, right? To talk about this. Referred to it as an Auckland ram raid death. And I just thought,
can't even get that right.
Well, because ram raids are crime. Well, it's not that that's a conscious decision. Ram raids are a big buzzword at the moment for crime to talk down Labour and talk up the softness on crime. And there was a death. So let's put them both in the same headline, even though it was not minimizing the issues with ram raids, but this was nothing to do with it. So not only these people who are doing this, then they're going one step further and fabricating connections to make it seem quite doubly bad. I mean, look, we've got to be careful because we don't want to make it sound like it's not horrific, but you don't need to make it any worse. It's horrific. This is an horrific story and the kind of tragedy no one would ever want to see. But you don't need to beat it up and try and attempt to make it worse. It's bad enough. And if the yardstick's going to be, right, and this is the thing, if the yardstick's going to be when there is a murder in your electorate, you must be in your electorate, then make that the yardstick. Mr Seymour didn't hold himself to that standard when he had a double murder in his electorate last year and he went to the South Island field days, but he's now putting out there that the Prime Minister should be held to that. And he's also taking in and retail crime. It's like, no, let's at least be consistent. Let's be consistent and let's say, okay, you know what? I don't have a problem with the idea of an electorate MP staying in their electorate when a tragedy has happened. I don't have it. But don't fucking call out someone for not doing it when you didn't do it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.